Hi guys, welcome back. It's Nancy, and I have had a lot of fun with this Path to the Barn stamp. This is from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps, and as you can see, again, I'll link the videos, but I made this very shimmery, pretty winter card using some Marby Snow Pen and some shimmer spray on top. Then I went a different route and made this beautiful summer spring card with changing that path into a little stream and putting some glossy accents on there. I colored this one in with some colored pencils. And I went back to the winter theme and did this, what's called the black ice method, which you can look up on YouTube. And this mirror card stock makes it look very like an aged photograph. So today, we're back again, and we're going to see if we can make one more card, another new method I want to try out, and I hope you guys will join me. All right, so we're going to be playing with some yupo and some alcohol inks today. So this is the heavy cardstock yupo. I got it at a stamp show. As you can see, it's pretty costly, so I've been hoarding it. 10 pieces come in here. They are 5x7 sheets. And you want to be very careful in trying not to touch this too much. So I'm going to pull one out. I'm only really going to try to have my fingers just barely touching the edge. And this is heavy duty. So I have my stamp mounted in my mini Misty. Oh, I think we're going to have to go to the big Misty here. So let me move this one out of the way. And because this is a red rubber stamp, we're going to take our foam piece out. I do have a little piece of sticky grid paper down in the bottom corner there. I'm going to put my yupo paper down. There really isn't a wrong or right side. Again, just trying to keep my fingers only on the edge there. And, I'm just going to stamp like this. I don't take any chances here. All right. I'm going to stamp this. Oh, there's some black ink left on it. That's okay. I'm going to stamp it in this really dark brown VersaFine Clair ink. This is highly pigmented ink because I want to heat emboss this image. So let me grab my embossing powder while we're at it. Okay, now, I don't want to put any of the powder on there. We're going to have to see how this goes. Hopefully we'll be okay. That's why I was really only trying to touch the edges. So we're going to ink up the stamp with this Fallen Leaves VersaFine. Just a dark brown. I really want it to look kind of vintagey old. And I think using this dark brown will be nice instead of just using black. And hopefully I get a good impression the first time only. Okay, that looks okay. I need a little bit more towards the bottom here. Hopefully I didn't move the image, this stamp. Okay, pretty good. All right, I'm really not wanting to mess with this too much or fuss with it. So again, be very careful, pull that out, and move that aside to dry a second. And the reason I'm using the heavy yupo is because I want to heat emboss, and I think the other, well, I know the other yupo paper will melt. So we want to use this heavy duty yupo. Okay, so while that's drying, just going to get all of this stuff out of the way real quick. I find if I don't put things away as I'm stamping, they just make a giant mess on my desk. And believe me, you guys cannot see, there is a giant mess on the desk on the left of me. There's all these pieces of paper and card that I've been using. Okay, so I'm going to grab the heat tool, and from a very high distance, I'm going to do this heat embossing. It's still very wet. This is what we want. We want this clear embossing powder. And this is Brutus Monroe embossing powder. It is called Icicle. It's super ultra fine. Okay, and it's very difficult to see because it's clear and the paper's matte, but I think we're okay with just having our stamped image. There's a little piece of lint. I need to grab my little tweezers and pull it off of there. I don't know where that came from, but it was like a hair. Yeah, I've never tried this before. I just have this idea in my head, and we'll see if it works out or not. Could be a huge fail. We'll find out together. Okay, I can put my embossing powder away. Okay, now we find out. And that's why I stamped it in the middle, so I had these edges that I could touch with my fingers, because I don't want to put that embossing powder tool, because once I add the alcohol ink, I want to have the ability for it to move and spread, and I feel like putting that powder on there would diminish that. So from a high up in the air here, I am about, I don't know, 12 inches away. I'm going to start heating this, and I'm going to keep the gun moving. In fact, I'm going to let the gun preheat, and then we'll melt the embossing powder. Now, as I see the edges start to come up and kind of want to curl, I move the heat gun away just for a second. And this is going to take a minute, but once it heats up and it goes, it's going to be good to go. We should be pretty close to that. Okay, there it goes. It's starting to melt. Okay, that did take a minute. We are just going to let this rest a second, and we'll go back in a second and just flip the paper over and try to get it to go back down. I want it to cool down before I go back and heat it. This is really thick yupo paper, so you can see the edges did curl up a little bit, but I don't know if the camera will pick up that it is fully heat embossed. There you go. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm just going to hit the back side and try to flatten this out a little bit. I'm not too concerned about it, but just a little bit. I want to be careful not to remelt my embossing powder, and I don't want to melt my yupo. So I'm just going to give this a second to just cool down and set. So while that's doing that, I'm going to keep this scrap piece of paper underneath it. I have a variety of alcohol inks. Bring those in. I have them in these little Tim Holtz tins, and I have different brands. So I have, of course, the Ranger alcohol inks, and I have some of the Pinata inks. So what I'm going to do, and I have some Q-tips, is basically use my glass mat as kind of a palette and pick out colors that I think are very fall themed. Okay, so I'm just going to try to look at my image, figure out where we're going to go. So I think with like, push those to the side, bring this in. So I'm basically going to be painting with Q-tips. So I'm going to work over here, so hopefully you guys can still see me in frame. Have my little Q-tips. Wipe my desk off, because there's some embossing powder strays. We don't want any of those. Okay, and let's get into some coloring. So I think I'll start with these little fences. I have a variety of these brown inks. I think I'll start lighter and then deepen the color. So this one's called Caramel. And you know what? Let me grab, before I forget. I have some other alcohol ink tools, brushes, alcohol to clean up, things like that. Some more alcohol ink colors. So I'm just going to dab my Q-tip in there, and then I'm just going to take the Q-tip and paint in over. And you got to work kind of quickly here because that ink dries very quickly. All right, you don't want to put a heavy saturation, so okay, I like that. So then when I'm done, I'll clean up my little palette later. I'm just gonna leave that alone. Okay, I'm gonna go in and do my little path in some Latte, which is a little bit lighter brown. Again, just using the Q-tip, just going to go in and dab that color in. Again, you do want to work fairly quickly because look, that alcohol ink just dries right up. I'm just doing one little drop at a time here. And the reason I chose to heat emboss it is because, number one, I feel like the heat embossing will give it little wells, you know, so that the color doesn't kind of move all over the place, but also I want that that raised kind of look to it, you know, so it locks it in place. And I was afraid if I used a StazOn ink or something, that because it's alcohol ink with an alcohol coloring method that it would bleed. So, and I thought if I used a regular ink and waited for it to dry that it would honestly just take too long. So, because this is synthetic paper, it's basically a heavy duty plastic. So that's why I did the heat embossing. All right, this is a much darker brown called teak wood. I'm gonna go in and add some shading to my little posts, fence posts here. And maybe a little bit to our little path here. You know, just muddy it up a little bit. And I'm sure I could have went in with alcohol markers and colored in, but we're having fun trying something new here. Okay, so I'm gonna go in and do our grass. I want the grass to look kind of dead, you know. I want it to be fall grass, so I don't want it to be springy and green. I want it to be a little darker. So here is okay, here we go. So I have some called lettuce. I'm just going to leave the tops off of that. And then I have some called meadow, and I'm just going to kind of mix it up a little bit here. Again, try to work quickly here. And I realize I'm probably going to have to make a new batch of color here, so I'm just putting this down where I can get it. Doesn't need to be perfect. All right, now, I must say, I think what's happening is that the alcohol ink is slowly dissolving at the embossing powder. So I'm working very quickly, but I'm being very conscious of that so that I try to do my strokes evenly in one direction, because if you go up and down, it's going to smear. It's adding to my color composition, which is fine by me because I'm getting that dark green in there. I'm just being very careful with that. I'm actually going to leave the grass alone. I like that look there. I think there's enough dimension there and color. So we're going to leave the grass alone. I think we're good. Now I do have a couple of rocks. Do I have gray? Oh, I do have a gray. This one is called slate. Let me clean this up because we don't want green here. Just going to put a drop there. I'm going to move the slate color over here. And I don't need very much of this. There's only a couple of rocks. That might be too light of a gray. I might have to go back in with a darker gray. Only a couple rocks, so we should be okay. Okay, I'll leave that alone. I do want a little bit more of this darker brown. That's called teak wood, and I have one of these alcohol markers. I'm going to dab it in the alcohol. Apparently I've used it with red ink. Okay, that's not going to work. We don't want red ink on our picture yet. I don't think I want any red ink on my picture. Oh yeah, so I did not clean my brush last time I used it. All right, very easy to fix. should have a little dish or palette full of alcohol to clean this up. All right, anyway, my brown ink is steady staying there, hasn't run away yet. Palette out here. And this is just regular isopropyl alcohol. There we go. There we go. A lot easier to clean up now. All right, I think I got most of the red off. I just want a teeny bit of this brown, and I'm just going to go in and just put that into my trees here. Maybe put a little bit more in here. A very fine paintbrush. Okay. Okay, my brush pretty clean. All right, I think I'm good on the brown. I don't need any more of that, so I'm going to clean that up. I'm just going to take my paper towel and wipe my surface here. Again, what's awesome about this surface is it's very easy to clean up and move on, especially using these alcohol inks. All right, now I'm going to go in and do the barn. We've already painted the barn red and we've painted the barn blue, and I kind of want this to be a fall weathered scene. So I think I am going to kind of continue with the browns. I like the browns. So I have many different color browns. So I think I'm going to go in with this sepia. It's a brand new bottle. Does not want to come out, which is good. Oh, too much. That's all right. I'm going to add a little ginger to that. So it's like a reddish brown. Ooh. Again, going to use the fine brush. Go into that pretty quickly and color my little barn and very easy to do. I'm going to add a little bit of teak wood for some dimension. Just to give a little shading here. And I think I'll go in here. The doors I'm not going to paint brown. I think I'll go in a different color with the doors. A lot of alcohol in there. I think I have a barn red that we can use just on the doors. Here we go, cranberry. Oy, oy. The color I haven't used in a while. It's all crusty. A tiny drop of that. Okay. Ooh, we have a leaker. These things can be very messy, but very fun to play with. Oh yeah, this is all dirty and crusty. I think every time I get this one out, I say I'm going to clean it, and then I don't do it. All right, I'm just going to take a little bit of that dark red, and I'm just going to do the doors with that. These little alcohol paintbrushes really help. These are from Ranger as well. And while we're at it, we'll make the roof red. Why not? I'm just adding more and layering it on and just trying to deepen that color a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, now the fun part. I want to go in and darken up those rocks a little bit. I have a different color slate from Bria Reese. We'll try this. Tiny smidgen of that. Hopefully it's a little darker. Oh, it's got a little like blue tint to it. Oh, it's actually about the same color. It might be slightly darker. Where'd it go? Look at that. Dried up so fast I can't even find it. Okay, pretty happy with my rocks there. I'm going to add a tiny bit of black, just a smidgen of black. Okay, the black, I'm going to go over here and fill in this kind of the barn doorway. I know it's such a little thing, and then you do a little bit under our rocks here to give them some shadowing. Maybe a little bit over here. Oh, I forgot to do grass over there. Okay. Messy, 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 messy. All right. I want to move it along here, and let's get to the sky. So for the sky, I'm just going to clean up a little bit here. Just going to take a paper towel, dip that in there in the palette, and just kind of wipe that up, and then I'll clean that up later. Take some more alcohol, wipe the table down. And any alcohol ink you get on your fingers, you can just take like a little scrubby and use some alcohol and it'll come right off. All right, so I want to work on the sky. I'm going to put a little alcohol in one of these wells to clean my brush a little better again. So I just have this palette and I just keep putting alcohol in it and just keep cleaning my brush off. All right, for the next part, I want to take like 3 Q-tips and I'm just going to Scotch tape these guys together. Actually, I'll take these 2 that I didn't use. There we go. You could use a rubber band, you could use more, you could use less. So I'm just going to make like a little triangle of clean cotton swabs, Q-tips here, okay? Now I'm going to take a variety of colors of some blues, aquamarine, some really light blues. Okay, aqua, I'm going to put a lot of this in there. Okay, and a little bit of this sailboat blue. take a little bit of alcohol and spritz some of that in there. A couple drops of that. And I'm going to use my paintbrush and just kind of stir it up, mix it around. This medium blue color. And I'm just going to take the Q-tips. You can see how quickly it soaked all that up. And I'm going to go in and start dabbing it into the sky here. Now hopefully it will move a little bit and travel. I forgot to do my little mountains in the back. All right, back with some of that darker green. Some lettuce, a little bit darker green. Back in with the paintbrush. Back here we have a little bit of rolling hills. All right, any place I missed, just going in with the paintbrush and adding that green in. It's almost like watercoloring. It dries super quick, so it's very easy to do. Very forgiving. Okay. Now the fun part. We said this is going to be an autumn scene, so we need some leaves. All right, I feel like my blue is just too intense, so I'm just going to add some alcohol into that little blue palette there. Mix that up. I'm just going to go in. Trying to lighten up some of that blue. Super blue. I mean, it's fine, but I really wanted it to be a little more lighter. I think I just put way too much of that turquoise in there. Okay. Now the fun part. I have 3 Q-tips left that are still pretty clean. Should have brought some more down, but they'll work. Okay. And so I'm just going to go in and do some trees. So let's see here. I have a dark orange. Okay, I have this one. I think this one is pumpkin. Put some of this down. And all I'm going to do is just dab it in. I'm going to take a little bit more, and I'm going to dab a little bit on the ground. Okay, I think we're good for orange. I'm just going to leave that out a second. I'm going to go back in, where was that dark maroon? The cranberry. I'm going to put some of that down. I'm just going to use the other end of the Q-tip and put a little bit of cranberry in there. That I'm going to put on the top here. Okay, now we want some golden yellows. I have butterscotch. Oh, this is a great color. I'm actually going to dab that right over where the pumpkin was. Butterscotch. Grab some of that up quick. It's not going to show up as much. It's too light of a color. That's okay. That's okay. We'll go back in with some of more of our pumpkin. There we go. This is coming out better than I expected. I really thought that this was going to be a total fail and I wasn't going to like it and I was going to have to delete this video and trash it. But now I'm really liking how this came out. Really, really pretty. I am going to a little more of this cranberry. I'm going to go back in with that fine brush and just add tiny little drops of that. I think we'll get a little bit more of a reaction and concentrated color. Oh yeah, there we go. Just doing that red on the tops of the trees and doing the orange kind of underneath. Oh, I'm really liking how this is coming out now. This is pretty. All right, I'm going to add, I think I'm done with the red. We're almost done here. The cranberry. I'm going to put that away. I'm going to add some more pumpkin right on my little, oh, you guys can't see. I'm making a big mess over here. You guys aren't even seeing it. Well, you can kind of see it. So on my little table over here, it's got the colors all mixing. And as they're drying, when I add new alcohol colors, they're mixing and turning into a different color. So I just threw that pumpkin now on top of that cranberry. So now I have this kind of darker orange. It's not the cranberry and it's not pumpkin, but it's a darker orange. I think I'm done. Well, done with painting anyway. All right, so let me just grab a paper towel, clean up this little mess over here. Just squirt some of that alcohol down, wipe this up. One more thing I want to do to this image, just to give it a little more oomph and make it stand out. Okay, I'll clean all that up later. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. All right, so I move all my alcohol inks aside. And, you know, I could even model down the sky a little bit. You know what? I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a little bit of gray to the sky because I just think it's too blue. So I'm going to take some of this slate alcohol ink, which is a lighter gray, really light gray. And just kind of lighten up that blue in the sky a little bit. It's just too blue, too pretty. Oh, gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. Too much mixing going on. Eee, I got the red in there. Okay, how do we fix it? We take some alcohol and we go in with the alcohol, and the alcohol lightens it up. There we go. We clean up our boo-boos too. Try to keep that red off of there. All right, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm just gonna do the alcohol. There we go. The alcohol's lightening it up enough. There we go. We don't want our red mixing in with our blue and making purple. It would be pretty, but that's not the look I was going for. I should have just left well enough alone. Okay, I'm done messing with it, leaving it alone. Just by adding alcohol, it darkened up our sky a little bit there. Okay, I'm done messing. All right, what I want to do now put the alcohol inks away is I got this really cool iridescent kind of glitter. This is from Cosmic Shimmer. I got it at the stamp show this year, and it's called Gold Flame. And inside here, it has gold, it has some red, it has some yellow, and it's very, very pretty. And every time I see it, it just reminds me of fall. It's this nice bronzy color. So I really want to make this card panel pop. I'm going to cut it down later, but I really want these trees to stand out and it to look like a glistening fall day. So you got it. We're going to add glitter. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue. And I'm just going to dab the trees. You know, just to really give it some dimension. I'm not doing any rhyme or reason here. The glue will dry clear, and you'll just have glitter left behind. And I'm going to do this row of trees back here. Okay. Oh, look what I did! I thought that was the lid for the glue. Thank goodness I'm working on the craft mat, so I'll be able to scoop it all back in. Oh, man. Nance, you noob. Noob error. All right, we'll clean it up in just a second. Easy fix. All right, so There's glitter stuck to everything right now. We're going to let this dry. Once this is dry, we will only have glitter on our trees, and where we put the glue, it's going to, look at the sparkle already. So down here where I have like extra glitter, I don't want it. I'm not going to worry about it right now. It's sticking to the plastic of the yupo paper because of static electricity. Once the glue is completely dry, I will take this brush and sweep off all the extra glitter, and we'll only have glitter where we want it. So we have this beautifully painted alcohol ink on heavy duty yupo paper. It's so pretty. And you guys will have to check back on Facebook, on my Instagram, while I will have the finished card for you, and you guys can check it out. If you have any questions about anything I use, post them down below. If you like this card, I always appreciate you guys thumbs up. Don't dump your glitter all over your desk like I just did. I know you guys can't see it. You only can see part of what's on camera, but I just dumped the glitter on my desk. So I'm going to take my little glitter brush here and scoop it all back. It's all on the mat, which makes it easy. Scoop it all back on the paper and then scoop it back in the jar. So that's where I'm at. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, keep on stamping. Bye-bye.